Hi, welcome to chapter 1 of the data analysis course. I am your instructor. My name is Bhavishya Pandit. Today in this chapter we will be focusing on uh, reading and writing multiple files. We would focus on some basic techniques to handle rows, columns and indices. In data frames, we try to understand how to use query function to filter the data. We would also use group by and aggregated functions as per our needs. We would also have a look at joins and merge, like different types of joins for joining and merging the data frames. So let's get started. And for that, we'll have to import this one Python package called pandas. You can if you are using Anaconda environment, it is already installed. But if you want to install it explicitly, you'll have to use this command to install it. So if you use pip install pandas, you'll be able to install it. Uh, and let's get started. So let's run this cell. So this would import the pandas Python package, and over here PD is the alias. So alias is a short name for that, for a specific thing. So just that we do not want to write the name pandas again and again. We write it as PD, right? So it is an alias. So what exactly would be the data set that we'll be using in today's session? So there would actually be two data sets that we'll be using, and we'll be using them as data frames. So one talks about the trains. One is trains CSV. So it has all the different. It has information about trains, different trains, like trains, their number, departure time, stations, arrival time, the departure time, and all of that. The other data set is about stations, uh, which is stations.csv. It helps us understand the location of each station, their latitude, longitude, and all of that. So, how can you, as a user, as a student, as a learner, can get access to that data set? You can go to my GitHub profile. My username is bhav09. So after going to that, go to repositories, and in repositories you can go to data analysis course, and over there chapter 1 and then data. There you will be able to see trains.csv and stations.csv. I've also mentioned a link to the same over here. So you'll get the access to the notebook. From that you can get the data set. So now let's read the file, right? So here it would be so here we would be reading the file. So pd.trains read underscore csv trains.csv is reading this file, right? So it reads the CSV file, and then it converts, and then it showcases us in the form of a data frame. And how to view that data frame? We view that data frame using head. So head is a method which helps us to view that data frame. So if you just run it, so you see that these are the different columns that we have, like number, name, type, zone, from station code, and all of that, right? And as I said, or as it is also commented over here, it enables to see the first few rows. The default is set to 5, right? If I want to see the first 10 rows, so you see that the index is from 0 to 4, so total 5 rows, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 rows are there total. But if I want to see uh, let's say first 10 rows, and if I run it, so I'll be able to see till 9, right? If I want to see uh, first 4 rows, or let's say first 3 rows, so if I run it, so I'll be able to see the first 3 rows. So the default is set to 5, right? And similarly, uh, let's say if you want to see the last rows, right, of the data frame, last few rows of the data frame, right? So you'll just write tails, trains dot tail, right? And here also the default is 5 only. So it helps you see the last 5 rows. And if you want to see the, let's say, last 10 rows, you just have to write 10 over here, or let's say if you want to see 3 or 4, whatever the number of rows that you want to see, just write it over here. Now this is a trains function, right? Shape. In this trains, there is this one shape function that we have. So now there are a lot of rows, right? There are a lot of columns. Now I want to understand and I want to see how many total number of rows and columns are there, because it is very important for me to understand, right? So this dot shape function actually helps me see what is the total number of rows and columns that I have for that specific data frame, for that specific data set that I have read as a data frame, right? So here you see it is in the format of rows, comma, columns, as I've also mentioned it over here in the comments. So it shows that there are 5208 rows and 20 columns, right? Now if I want to read another file, right? So I'll just read it in a similar fashion as I have done it over here. And that is exactly how I'll do it over here as well. Same, we are using the head function to read the stations CSV, and then again I'm using dot shape function to see how many rows and columns are there in this file, right? I'm reading both the files so that it gives you a rough estimate of the data that we're dealing with. Now let's come on to the next section. We would be filtering the data, right? Now why filtering is important? Because in this exercise, filtering is important because there are a lot of things that are there in this data. We specifically want to learn things in an easy way, and you'll be able to do that by focusing on a smaller section of the data set, right? Which would help us understand different nuances of the same. So here we would be using this query function to filter the data. So query function basically is used as conditions, right? So let's say if I want to use it over here, so it has only one condition over here. So for multiple conditions, we'll be looking at it in a while. So now if I see it, if I want to see and if I want to know only those rows in the data frame who have the station code, who have the from station code, that is BDTS. So if you see BDTS, it stands for Mumbai Bandra terminus, right? If you see it over here, it stands from Mumbai Bandra terminus, right? So this from station code is BDTS. So that is exactly what I want, and I want all those rows where the from station code is BDTS, right? Let's run this cell again, right? So here we see there are a lot of columns, right? I again want to see how many columns are there over here. How many columns are there? The number of rows, the number of columns would be the same. I want to see how many rows are there in this, right? So we'll just run it. So see, you saw that the number of columns are same, 20, right? But the number of rows differs. Earlier we had 5208 rows, now we have only 27. That is because we filtered the data, right? Now you see that we have earlier the index that we had was in sequence 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and all of that, right? Here also, even in the tail, it is in sequence. Here again, if you see, it is in sequence. If you remember when we wrote over here, like we wrote 10 over here, again it was in sequence from 0 to 9, it was there, right? But now if you see, we do not have it in sequence over here, right? And is it a concern? Yes, it is a concern, because when you would want to access the rows, you would not be able to do that very easily, because the index is not in sequence, and since it is not in sequence, the row would not be callable, right? And that is exactly why it is important for us to have the index in sequence, right? So is there a way to bring it in sequence, right? So yeah, there definitely is one way, right? So we'll just have a look at it. So I'll just make a new cell so that you will be able to understand, and so that the data frame also doesn't get overwritten. So basically, this function dot reset index helps you to reset index, right? And now if I just run this cell, you would see that the index got resetted. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and all of that has come, right? But it came up with it. There came an additional column over here, and that is named index, right? And if you'll just do it dot shape function over here, it would show that the total number of columns now are 21. Earlier, which was 20, now is 21, right? You saw it over here also. So now the total number of columns is 21. and I do not want that additional column to come, right? So what we'll do is we'll write drop equals to true. This is the drop is an attribute which would actually automatically drop that additional index column that is made, right? So if I'll just run it over here again, you would not see that index column here, right? And that is exactly what this function does. So if I'll just do it again like this, again you would see only 5 rows over here, and yep, if I just run it again over here, so you would be able to see that the index column is not there now, and the sequence is also in sequence. The index is also in sequence now. Now here till now we have understood how to filter the data. Till now we have understood how to read the data first, and then we have filtered the data. We have also understood how to see the total number of rows and columns, right? We have also learned how to reset the index. We now want to learn how to add a new column to the data, right? So if you remember, if you have ever gone to the IRCTC, there is on the website there is this one section of category, right? How you want to book the ticket. It is in like general category, or you want it in Tatkal, female, and all of that, right? So there are different categories out there. So let's make a column which would tell more about the category that is supported by that train, right? So for the sake of simplicity, we'll just name this category as all. The column name is booking category, but all stands for that it supports all different kinds of category, right? It supports general, tatkal, and each and everything, right? So we'll just write it in this manner, right? So if you want to create a new column, right, you just have to write the name of the data frame, and then you'll have to uh, write the name of the column, and then what value exactly you want to put it, right? So if you just run it, let's run it. So if you just scroll, you'll see booking category all. Now if you'll do shape again, it'll show you 21 columns again, right? The number has changed. Now we would understand and we would learn how to use aggregated functions on the data that we have, right? So what is aggregated function? Basically, aggregated functions are used with this group by statement, right? So for to understand what aggregated function, we'll first have to understand what is group by, right? So group by statement, basically, as the name suggests, right, it actually groups. So what does it exactly group? So it basically groups the rows that have same values as per a specific condition, right? And this group by statement is used with aggregated functions. So a few aggregated functions are count, max, minimum, sum, average, and all of that, right? So an example of group by is this. So if you look here carefully, right, there are these different book titles, right? There are these different genres, and then there is different price for this. And then this group by function is used along with average price. So what does this group by function does is it has grouped uh, all those books with a similar genre, with the same genre, and then it has done and then we have done and we have used an aggregated function, the average function on the price, right? So what it does is it would take the average, it would take and give you the average of each and every genre. So here you see for adventure genre, we have 11.90 plus 9.99 divided by 2, and that is exactly how we get 10.945, right? Similarly for fantasy, similarly for romance, right? Had it been sum over here instead of had it been sum instead of average, it would have been 11.90 plus 9.99, and then it would have been somewhere around 22.98, something like that, and similarly for others, right? So had it been maximum, it would have shown us what is the maximum of adventure, right? So it would have shown us the maximum of 11.9 and 9.99. So that would have been 11.9. Similarly, had it been for minimum, it would have shown 9.99, and similarly for other genres as well. Had it been for count, it would have shown us how many total number of books are there for that, right? So at that moment of time it would have shown us 2. So since 2 books are there, so it would have shown us 2. 2 books for romance, it would have shown us 2. 2 books for fantasies, it would have shown us 2. So count would give us the total number of count of of the number of books, right? So now let's get some hands on group by, right? So here earlier we have seen this data frame, right? We have, right? So it talks about trains from Mumbai. So now, specifically in this trains from Mumbai, we see this one column called zone, right? So this zone has these different value of WR, 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 right? So since I have already seen this data, I know that this WR actually stands for Western Railway, NR stands for Northern Railway, NWR stands for North Western Railway, right? So in this data frame, we have three distinct values for zone, that is Western Railway, Northern Railway, non-Western Railway, right? So I actually want to group by on the basis of zone, and then I want to see the duration, the minimum duration, right? Uh, in hours, right? So I'll just run and it shows like this. So basically what it has done, for all those columns that I have in my data frame, it actually groups all those, for all those rows that I have in the data frame, it actually groups those rows, and then it actually shows me the minimum value of each row, each zone, right? And this is one way of doing it. And another way of doing it uh, is a conventional way, and that is exactly how you should be doing, because it actually helps you to uh, use aggregated functions for uh, on more than one queries, right? On more than one columns, I would say, right? So if you just look at dot group by and then zone, and I want the minimum count of duration hours, right? Duration in hours, right? So if I do it like this, and then I want the minimum of it, right? So if I just run this cell, it will show me the same thing, right? This is also one way of doing it. And let's say I'm interested in knowing the maximum distance for each row, right? So I'll just write distance, and then over here I'll just write maximum. So it will show me the minimum duration hours, right? And maximum distance at the same time, right? So this is a better approach when you want to deal with more than one columns. But you can do it like this also, like I have done it in this column. But it works well easily when you have only one column to deal with. But here you can use it when you want to deal with more than one column, right? And that is exactly, this is the syntax that you'll have to follow. You have to keep it in a dictionary format, and only then it will work, or else it will not work. Now, earlier we saw how to add a different column, right? We added a different column, a new column, but it was a static column, right? But now I want to add column which is more or less based on condition, right? So one way of doing it is with the lock attribute, right? So this lock attribute basically deals with a lot of things. It deals with rows. It also deals with adding columns, depending on how the use is, right? So now if I want to see how to add a column, right? What basically how it works is, you'll have to write the name of the data frame and then this lock attribute. Now in this new data frame, you again will write the name of the column that you have, right? So if you remember earlier what we did to make a new column, what we did, we wrote the name of the data frame and the name of the column that we want, and then the value that we wanted to have, right? You have to do it the same thing only over here as well, right? You have to write the name of the data frame and then the duration in hours. Here the basic thing is, I want to make a column which would tell me whether the journey is long journey or a short journey on the basis of the condition. If the number of duration is 12 greater than equal to 12 hours, then it is long journey. If it is less than 12, I'll call it a short journey, right? So the name of the column that I want, and the name of the value that I'm looking, right? And that is long and short, right? And then the condition, that is, right? So uh, if I'll just run it, it will show you long journey. You're right. So the syntax basically follows like the name of the data frame, the condition that we have, and then the name of the column that we want, and then long or short, right? So that is exactly how it works. Now, uh, we have actually we already have a lot of columns over here, right? If you see, now we already have 22 columns, and it is not very easy to handle all of these 22 columns out there, right? So if you want to nitpick a few columns, there is one easy way of doing that, and that is by make a new data frame. Just write the name of the old data frame and then make a list of all the columns that you want to nitpick, right? Then you have written all the name of those columns that you want to nitpick, and if you just run this cell, you'll get to know that there is this. You'll get to know that there is this name of the column, and then you'll be able to see all the value over here, right? All the values over here. So now again we'll use shape function to show us the result of the total number of rows and total number of columns we have. So till now, if you just scroll it up, it would show us that we have covered reading files, writing. We'd see writing files at a later stage. But till now, we have covered reading files. We have covered some basic techniques to handle rows, columns, indices. We have also seen how to use query function to filter the data. We have also learned about group by and aggregated functions.